Hey guys, what's going on? This is Joe Barrett with episode 12 of Paintbology 101, and today we're going to talk about handing off the ball. Basically, I'm going to go through the basics of situations and realizing and deciding who has the ball. And what I mean by that is basically deciding what player is still free to attack or look for kills while other players still do the jobs necessary during the game. So let's do a real basic one real quick. If you're playing X-ball, obviously there's two basic zones, the snake zone and the Dorito zone. Granted, there's multiple ways to break up these zones. You have downfield zones from bunkers on the same side. You have crossfield zones where you're kind of more just containing, but you can't really see what you're shooting in front of. You have the tape zones, especially down like a straight ladder snake. Zones from up the field through the center for people that might be inserting up towards the X and whatnot. But for the most part, if you have two guys, you watch over each other, and basically that's why people say cross up to protect the opposite side of the field you're on. If you're shooting at Dorito side from over here in Snake Corner, then you're going to see that entire side of the field and somebody coming through the middle anyways. Same thing with the opposite corner shooting at the snake side. You're shooting one side of the field or the other. So if you have 5 players playing, you generally have 2, if not 3 different zones covered. Maybe a 4th one of your players is also doing a job in a zone, and you have a 5th or maybe 2 players that are front players and they're attacking. What I'm basically going to show you right now is how to still break up those jobs and figure out who has the ball when you have less than 5 people. So sometimes you shoot people off break and you're immediately down to 3 or 4 people. Depending on the situation, you might have to play defense for a bit to even up the game before you can start attacking again. For reasons like, let's say you're 3-on-5, if one of your players just starts attacking towards the 50, he might get to spots where he can get kills, but he might also get close enough to one of the other players who, even if they just trade out with him, that's still going to put you in a worse situation. Now you're in a 4-on-2, now you're missing half of the field, and that's basically not a good move. For that reason, people are going to stay back and play defense until they're at least, evened out or maybe one body down. But there are times like when you're running low on time and you're still behind points, if it's game point and you can't concede, you have to go for the win anyways, or maybe the end of a half if you're playing X-ball up in Canada or somewhere like that, where you still need to have someone who basically takes it upon themselves to probe for kills and try to win the game for you. Obviously, everybody's trying to win the game, but you can't have all 3 or 4 of your players remaining go for kills and next bunkers, because that means the other team is going to be able to continue moving. There's going to be trades. The other team might be able to get to key spots before you and win this game. For that reason, you still have to have minimum 2 people zoning and doing jobs, containing and slowing the other team while your 1 or 2 possible guys take the ball and start moving for the kill. So let's put up a basic situation where I can show you who has the ball and how you can tell they have the ball. Let's say they shoot 2 of your players off break and you are down to Dorito insert Aztec, Snake Corner, and we'll say this God bunker right here in front of the snake. Okay, so pretty easy to tell who has the ball here. Even easier, let's start this right off the back, to tell who doesn't have the ball. The guy who can't risk anything. In a situation like this, where one guy is kind of isolated by himself, either side of the field really doesn't matter, we call this playing the island. And at this point, this guy does not have the ball. Even if this guy only has one guy downfield with him in his mirror, if this team is still up bodies, this player can't really risk gunfights, he can't risk dying out of his bunker, he can't really risk getting to the 50 too quickly without somebody watching over him and trading out, because then these 2 people have to fight on this little area against all of this field, rather than having to worry about only what's in front of them or one guy contained by this guy. So this player right here's only job at this point is to either stay heads up and protect himself from people trying to get to the 50 and either pinch him in or get shots on his snake player, or he needs to communicate with a player cross field and cross up with another player to basically shoot both zones. At this point, you would probably want him to cross up with this corner player this corner player would shoot across at the Doritos, probably just blindly in front of one of these zones, and your player right here would shoot probably just in front of the snake if they're not already in there. If they're in there, you basically still play zone, but you just keep shooting paint at the 50 area or whatever notches that they're at. Don't let them pop your head up and put you in. Gotcha. What that means is, since these two players are doing jobs, this is the player who has the ball. Right now, if this player just stays on the Dorito side, he's shooting a gap that one of these two guys is already shooting. If he stays shooting at guys heads up in front of him, he really doesn't have any angles to get killed. He's just shooting at players hiding in the snake, and this guy could potentially be doing that on the wire anyways. He's not really stopping them from moving down the snake since he's not on the wire yet. So what this guy needs to realize is, if they're going to get kills this game, aside from people going through your zones moving upfield, it's going to come from this player right here. And he needs to actively start either engaging to put people in and move himself into the snake, and then start looking for kills, or look to kill out the nearest target in front of him. One way or the other, the point I'm trying to make is, he needs to get the ball rolling, start getting to the key bunkers, looking for free kills, maybe trying to bait somebody to come run him down and run through one of his teammates' zones. However he does it, he should not be sitting here and shooting his pack dry at one spot or other. You just need to know that this is your player who has the ball right here. There's definitely right and wrong ways to do this for every situation. Let's say this player's out here in the corner. You probably want him to cross up with this corner then, and why that is because here he can shoot the gaps between the Doritos and do the Dorito side job. He can hold the zone that's heads up. Out in the corner, he can shoot heads up, but a good Dorito player is going to make inside moves and continue forward anyways and start putting pressure on his snake player. So at this point, he could probably stay heads up, hide his body from the snake side, give them something to shoot at where they're never going to kill him, not let anybody near the 50. If he comes out here, he basically needs to switch and just shoot at snake notches and make sure this corner player is shooting at those gaps to try to stop the field. If this player is here and he's able to contain this heads up, then this player shouldn't be shooting the same paint crossfield, because now you're just wasting paint at a blind zone. This guy's going to be, heads up with these players and see if they're going anyways. That's just more effective way to not be shooting through your whole pack, hoping somebody is going to eventually go that you can't even see. So at this point, this player would be shooting down the wire, and now he's not really shooting for snake insert moves and whatnot, but he is going to stop people from moving down the snake zone, crawling down the wire, coming into your side of the snake and possibly pinching out your Dorito side island player. The only flaw with the uncrossed zone method between two players, if you're down to just 3 of you and one has the ball, is at this point you have an open zone. If somebody in the middle realizes that the Dorito side is being held by someone heads up and the snake is being stopped by the corner, they're going to realize that all they have to look for is this front player who's in the god or moving for kills, and they're going to be able to use this entire highway area to come trade out with him and then leave you in a 2-on whatever the situation may be. So that basically, sums up how to identify amongst yourselves and then communicate it against maybe your teammates who aren't aware of it while it's going on in the game. That sums up how to recognize who doesn't have the ball at all, which is anybody who's playing a side of the field by themselves, even if you still have all 5 of you. If you have one player out here, the next nearest player is home, and then you have 3 guys fighting snake way, this guy should just be sitting and rolling his gun. Don't gunfight, don't over-aggress down this side by yourself. You're the island, so do your job. People over here who are either watched over from a crossfield zone or still have a second, if not third body behind them, which means that guy can not only contain, watch over, and protect them, but he could be a support guy to help this one guy with the ball down the field. That's the guy with the ball. The guy who has extra people behind him, and if he were to trade out, you still have a body left on the side of the field, whereas over there, if you trade out, you've just given them your entire Dorito side. The last way to identify who has the ball, and this is in the other type of situation, is in the end game. Let's say you don't have all 5, the other team isn't contained to just one side of the field, or just two guys very close together. Let's say you have a player up here at the Dorito 50, a player at this corner, and a player at this snake bunker. And you are trying to dig out, let's say, we'll say this corner and this corner like I was just talking about. Now these two corners, they're in defense mode right now. So in the way I see paintball, they don't have a third guy who has the ball to attack. At this point, if they're smart paintball players and they're playing safe, these guys are crossed up and they're waiting to even the bodies down. You know, if it's 3-on-2, they're going to wait till they shoot one of you, and then they're probably going to go back to heads up and just play two different one-on-ones, or watch over each other and basically just work down the bunkers and bully one of the two players. As long as there's three of you, though, you know, one of these players can't wire out and begin to gunfight and use their bunker looking for a kill, because that means the other player can only do one zone. So he's maybe watching over you. If you're starting to fight on the guy in front of you down the wire, then who's watching this zone over here? Or if he's watching over you and you're starting to you know, fight inside on a third person floating in the middle, then this guy is going to begin to move. You know, let's say you guys switch up and you're watching down the wires. Now a guy can freely start coming through the middle of closed. So at this point, you know those two guys are going to be trying to spread wide if they're not already wide, corner to corner, which these guys would be in this situation, and they're going to be crossing up and waiting until the bodies even out. At this point, this guy is going to be shooting right here, basically so you can't come into his next bunker and put more pressure on him, take away space for him to live, or come into his side of the field, get closer to his other teammate, and go trade out with him before he can shoot you out. This player over in this corner is going to be shooting right here. He basically just doesn't want this snake player to have his head stick up, be able to play this notch, be able to work it. He can't really stop movement, but if this player does come up, he's still going to be shooting right here. You know, even if he's not shooting directly at the bunker, if this guy is dominant on that corner, he's going to roll off and he's just going to keep shooting here. So if this guy, for some reason, gets bored or antsy or can't find the shot on him, he's going to get up and go try to run out and trade out with this guy, leaving this corner and that 50 in a 2-on-1. That's the smart move, right? So if these two players know the smart move that you're going to do to close this game, they're going to just shoot in front of the two widest guys. In this situation, both your front players have done all they can. They've gotten as far up the field as they can without being stopped or having to start forcing moves by engaging gunfights. And there's really no more angles. It's not like they have somebody left in here that they're just going to get a free kill. The two people left are as far back and as wide as the field as they can, and you're going to have to work those guys out of their bunkers. So at this point, when these guys pretty much can't do any more aside from fighting off the face of their bunker or their notch and directly trying to kill that guy out of their bunker, you know, there's only one safe way to close this game, and that's by realizing this containment player all the way back here has the ball now. You know, these players are front players early on in the game. They want to get there and get angles. But in the end game, what you hear pro players call closing, they don't have the ball anymore. At that point, you realize these guys aren't trying to fill anymore. These guys probably aren't going to try to come up the field unless one of your front players is right in front of them and they can safely get them. So you really don't have to contain anymore. At this point, insert player 3 back here needs to become more of a support role. And by what I mean by that is no more sitting and shooting a lane, trying to contain a move that's probably not going to happen until they even these guys up. You need to start worrying about how to split these guys cross or bully one of the extra bodies. 2 quick, easy ways to do that real quick would be coming up the wire and following this guy. Basically just coming up to whatever notch is behind him and looking crossfield. You're going to see this player tighten his bunker, shooting at your front player, and hopefully he has a hopper or a pod pack hanging out, and you can just edge him out and then work a quick 3-on-1. The other way, if these guys are playing tight, would be to start cutting through the center of the field this way and basically picking one of them and shadowing towards them while edging the other. Real quick breakdown on that. I don't want to get too much into it because it's going to be a future video, but you know, a good move on this would be to come to the X, come around the X because you have this can blocking off this corner, come towards the X shooting this way, and basically work towards the guy that you're shadowing off, trying to shoot the other guy. Now as you get closer to him, his angle is going to get more extreme, And even if he untightens to shoot at you, you're going to have your player right next to you to shoot at it, like Hopper or whatever, hanging out. But if for some reason you get whatever to the next bunker and you still can't kill him, switch over this way and just run down this guy real quick. And now you've traded him out. That's the safest possible way to do it. You're either going to get a shot on the one guy that you're shooting at while being safely hidden from the other player. If this player tries to move or come kill you, at this point the two front guys have to stay zoned up to protect you since you've taken the ball. And if you for some reason still can't shoot this guy, he's just living all the way outside his bunker. He's gained dominance on your player on the wire, so he's living fully in the wire. Then basically just keep paint on him until you're close enough that you can just clear the distance in a second and trade out with his opposing player he's supposed to be protecting. And now you leave your two players with a better field spread in a 2-on-1. That's still going to be a game situation win as long as you close the game smart and play it right. Hope this was helpful.